Let me ask you something simple but profound. If your life continued exactly as it is today, where would you be 90 days from now? Now, really think about that, not in a vague, hopeful way, but with clarity. Would you be closer to the life you want, or just 90 days older? Because here's a truth we don't talk about enough. Transformation doesn't take a lifetime. It takes a decision. Let's be honest, most of us know what to do. Eat healthier, exercise, wake up earlier, save more, work smarter. The instructions are everywhere. The books have been written. The YouTube videos have millions of views. But we don't follow through, not because we're lazy or broken, but because we're disconnected from the deeper reason why we even started in the first place. Discipline without purpose is exhausting. You can only force yourself out of bed so many mornings in a row before the motivation fades, the excuses grow louder, and the goal you once swore you wanted starts to feel negotiable. And the truth is, it was never really about motivation. It was about meaning. When people say they've lost motivation, what they've really lost is their connection to why the effort matters. That's the difference between people who change for a season and people who transform their lives. It's not willpower, it's vision. And that vision isn't built on aesthetics or social approval, it's built on something real, something personal, something emotional. I once met a man named Greg. At 320 pounds, he had tried every diet you can think of: keto, low carb, vegan, intermittent fasting. He'd bought the gym membership, hired a trainer, downloaded the apps, but nothing stuck. Not because he was weak, but because nothing had stirred him deeply enough to stay the course. Then, one evening, something changed. Greg was sitting at the kitchen table, flipping through papers from his daughter's school. It was one of those class projects where the kids draw pictures of their families. He laughed when he saw it, until he looked closer. In the picture, everyone in the family was standing: his wife, his two daughters. But Greg? He was lying down. She looked up and said without hesitation, "Because you're always tired, Daddy." That was the moment. That was his why. Not a number on a scale, not a beach trip, not even a doctor's warning. His why was standing right in front of him, holding a crayon drawing of what she saw, what he had become. He didn't change overnight. He didn't suddenly turn into an Olympic athlete. But from that moment forward, his actions were no longer fueled by pressure or guilt. They were powered by love, by connection, by a need to show up fully present for the people who mattered most to him. He lost 110 pounds in 90 days, not because he was perfect, but because he was finally anchored. On the days he didn't want to go for a walk, he'd look at that drawing. On the nights he felt like giving up, he'd remember her words. It wasn't motivation pushing him anymore. It was something deeper, and that's what most of us are missing. We set goals without grounding them in anything that makes our hearts beat faster. We chase outcomes that sound good, look good, but mean nothing when life gets hard. But when your reason to change comes from love, legacy, identity, something powerful shifts. You stop negotiating, you stop quitting, you start becoming. So before you write your 90-day plan, pause. Sit with the question, why does this matter to me? And don't settle for shallow answers. Dig. Ask again and again until it hurts, until it hits. Because the stronger your why, the more resilient you become. And when the inevitable storms of life come, and they will, it won't be discipline that carries you through. It will be your reason, your anchor, your why. We live in a world obsessed with goals. They sound bold. They look good on paper. Lose 20 pounds, write a book, start a business. We chase goals the way kids chase fireworks. Eyes wide, hearts pounding, drawn to the thrill. But just like fireworks, most goals fizzle out. They shine for a moment and then they're gone. Not because we didn't want them badly enough, but because we didn't build anything sustainable to support them. The truth is, goals are not enough. What you need are systems. Daily habits, small shifts, routines that don't rely on motivation or hype, because motivation comes and goes, but systems show up even when you don't feel like it. If you want real transformation, the kind that lasts beyond the first 2 weeks of excitement, you need to stop obsessing over outcomes and start falling in love with process. Think about it. You don't finish a marathon because you decided to run 26 miles. You finish because you trained a little every day. You don't publish a novel because you wrote 1,000 words in one inspired evening. You publish it because you sat down every morning for months, even when the words didn't come easily. You don't build a calm, focused life because you took a weekend retreat. You build it through intentional daily practices like journaling, reflection, walking, silence. Here's the key. Systems create momentum. Momentum creates identity, and identity sustains the change. Let's say your goal is to get fit. That's great. But goals like that are slippery. Fit doesn't have a clear definition. And the minute you have a bad day or miss a workout, you feel like you've failed. Now you're stuck in the all or nothing trap. So instead, what if you made a simple system? Lay your gym clothes out the night before. Schedule a 30-minute walk after lunch every weekday. Track your steps, your meals, not for perfection, but for awareness. Or say you want to write a book. The idea excites you. You imagine the cover, your name on the spine, but when you finally sit down, the pressure is overwhelming. What if instead your system was to write for 30 minutes each morning before the day starts? You're not writing a book today, you're just writing a page, and you do it again tomorrow, and the day after. And before you know it, you're not just someone with a dream. You're a writer. It's easy to get discouraged when results don't come fast. But transformation is a compound effect. The things you do every day, especially the small, boring things, are the ones that build the life you want. Not in a flash, not with fanfare, quietly, steadily, and with far more power than you realize. There's research to back this up. A study published in the European Journal of Social Psychology found that, on average, it takes 66 days to form a new habit. Not 21 like pop culture tells us, and not instantly like we secretly wish. What the study also revealed was that habits built slowly, day by day, even imperfectly, are much more likely to stick. Because they're not based on effort alone. They're rooted in identity. You're no longer trying to become someone new. You're already living it. The beauty of systems is that they remove the drama. You don't have to wake up and decide if you feel motivated to go to the gym. You don't have to wonder if today is the day you start writing that book. You already know what you're doing. It's just what you do now. And over time, those systems begin to shape something bigger. Not just better habits, but a better you. Not just a changed schedule, but a changed life. Because when you stop chasing fireworks and start building firewood, something truly powerful happens. The fire doesn't burn out, it keeps going. Quiet, steady, strong. We're wired to seek comfort, to stay safe, to avoid pain whenever possible. And for most of human history, that instinct helped us survive. But today, that same instinct is the reason so many people are stuck, frustrated, unfulfilled, and quietly wondering if this is all there is. Comfort might feel good in the moment, but it's the slowest kind of death when it comes to personal growth. The truth is simple. If it doesn't challenge you, it can't change you. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. It always has. And yet we resist it. We want the transformation, but we try to skip the pain. We want the strength without the struggle, the clarity without the confusion, the confidence without the risk. But that's not how it works. It never has. Change isn't a clean, Instagram-worthy process. It's messy, it's awkward, it's frustrating, and it's supposed to be. Because every time you choose discomfort, every time you show up when it would be easier to hide, you stretch, You expand, you become more. You will want to quit. That's not a flaw in your character. That's part of the process. You'll wake up some days and feel like nothing's happening. You'll start to wonder if all the effort is even worth it. That's the precise moment that matters most. Because how you respond when it gets hard is what determines who you become. Growth is painful, but so is regret. And at some point, you have to choose your pain. The pain of pushing yourself when it would be easier to settle, or the pain of waking up one day and realizing you let fear win, that you never gave yourself a real chance to see what you were capable of. Take Mel Robbins, for example. Her life didn't fall apart in one moment. It unraveled slowly through anxiety, missed opportunities, and years of feeling stuck. And then one morning, she hit a wall. She realized that no one was coming to save her. Not a miracle, not motivation, not even another self-help book, just her alone with a choice. So she came up with the 5-second rule. The idea was painfully simple. When her instincts told her to do something that mattered, get out of bed, make a hard call, go to the gym, she would count down from 5 and move before her brain could talk her out of it. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't glamorous, but it worked. 5 seconds. That's all it took to start shifting momentum. And 90 days later, her life had changed in every direction. Not because she found an easier path, but because she finally stopped avoiding the hard one. We keep waiting for the right time, the perfect plan, the day when it feels easy. But easy is a lie. There is no version of change that doesn't cost you something, your comfort, your certainty, your old identity. But what you get in return is worth it. You get resilience. You get pride. You get to wake up knowing you chose courage over convenience. Every time you take the harder road, every time you resist the urge to retreat into the familiar, you're not just getting stronger. You're proving to yourself that you can, that you will, and eventually, discomfort becomes less of a threat and more of a signal, a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. So the next time you feel resistance, don't run from it. Lean in. That moment where you feel like quitting, that's the moment you grow. That's the moment your future self is watching and whispering, please, don't give up. We need this. Because everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. Not beyond your limits, but just beyond your excuses. We tend to believe that progress is a straight line, that if we're doing it right, every day should feel better than the one before. We expect to feel stronger, more motivated, more capable. And when that doesn't happen, when we feel stuck or off or less than our best, we start to question everything. Maybe we're not cut out for it. Maybe we're falling behind. But the truth is, progress isn't pretty. It's not neat, and it almost never feels like victory in the moment. Progress is messy. Some days you'll crush your routine. You'll get up early, hit the gym, eat clean, stay focused, and go to bed with a sense of pride. Other days, the win will simply be showing up, putting on the shoes, even if you didn't run, opening the journal, even if you only wrote a single line, saying no to something that once had power over you, even if you said yes the day before. That's still progress, even when it feels small. Especially when it feels small. The problem is, most people don't track these moments. They don't acknowledge them. And because they don't acknowledge them, they don't feel like they're moving forward. But transformation is often silent. It's subtle. You won't always see it in the mirror or in the numbers or in the praise of others. Sometimes the real shift is happening in the way you talk to yourself, in the way you bounce back after a bad day, in the way you no longer let failure define you. That's why tracking matters. Because when we track, we make the invisible visible. We turn vague hope into measurable momentum. You don't have to wait for a breakthrough moment to know you're changing. You can see it in the data, in the details, in the daily decisions that stack up, one on top of the other, until the results are undeniable. Track your sleep, not just because you want more rest, but because how you sleep affects how you live, your energy, your focus, your patience. Track your mindset. Write down how you're feeling in the morning and again at night. You'll start to notice patterns, what energizes you, what drains you, what shifts your emotional state. Track how you respond to stress. Not just whether you had a meltdown or not, but whether you paused before reacting, whether you chose to breathe instead of blame. Those moments are markers of growth. And celebrate the small wins. Write them down. Keep a list. You'll be surprised at how quickly it fills. Because when you focus only on perfection, you'll always feel like you're falling short. But when you focus on progress, you start to see how far you've come. You start to trust yourself again. You realize that change isn't something you talk about, it's something. There's science to back this up. A Harvard study found that people who tracked their goals were 76% more likely to achieve them, not because they had more time or talent, but because they paid attention. They measured what mattered, and that awareness created accountability. That accountability created momentum, and that momentum led to transformation. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. Present enough to notice when you're growing. Present enough to own the little wins instead of waiting for the big ones to show up. Because the life you want isn't built in leaps, it's built in inches. Measured not by how flawlessly you perform, but by how faithfully you keep going. One decision at a time, one step at a time. One win at a time. We like to think of transformation as a solo act, that the real breakthroughs happen when we dig deep, grind harder, isolate ourselves, and rely on nothing but pure willpower to get through. That sounds noble, even heroic, but it's also a lie, because the truth is, willpower fades. No matter how strong your intentions are, they will crack under pressure if you're trying to carry it all alone. And the longer you go without support, the heavier the weight becomes. If you want to go fast, maybe you can go alone. But if you want to go far, really far, you need people. Not just spectators, but teammates. Not just cheerleaders, but challengers. The kind of people who see you clearly. The ones who remind you of your why when you start to forget. Who hold you to your potential, not your excuses. We all need that. No one transforms in isolation. There's a reason so many people start strong and burn out just weeks into their journey. It's not because they're lazy. It's not because they're weak. It's because they're alone. And being alone with your dreams, your doubts, your failures, it gets loud. You start to second guess. You spiral in your own mind. You begin to shrink your goals just to make the journey bearable. But when you're surrounded by people who are also reaching, also stretching, also stumbling and getting back up, everything shifts. You don't feel so strange. You don't feel so broken. You feel seen. And that feeling can carry you through the moments when motivation disappears. Find your people. Build your tribe, and not just anyone. Find those who make you better, the ones who tell you the truth even when it stings, the ones who clap the loudest when you win, but also sit quietly beside you when you're struggling. That's not weakness, that's power, that's fuel, and we need that more than we need another motivational video. Look at Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the most well-known recovery programs in the world. Yes, it has a method. Yes, it has steps, but the secret to its success isn't the structure. It's the people, the community, the shared experience. The moment someone stands up and says, "Me too," something powerful happens. Shame loses its grip. Isolation fades and healing begins. Because transformation doesn't thrive in silence, it grows in connection. When you're part of a tribe, you start to believe in your own potential, not because you're told to, but because you see it mirrored back in the eyes of others. You borrow strength when yours runs low. You rise to meet the expectations of a group that doesn't let you settle. And slowly, you stop pretending. You stop performing. You start becoming. Tell a friend what you're working on. Invite someone into your process. Share your goals, not just your results. And be honest about the struggle. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's the gateway to real, lasting change. The more you share, the more others will too. And before you know it, you'll realize you're not walking this road alone. We were never meant to. From the beginning, human beings have survived and thrived in community. It's how we're wired, it's how we grow. So build your environment with intention. Choose the voices around you carefully, because the right people won't just help you stay on track. They'll help you believe that transformation is not only possible, it's already happening. And all you have to do is keep showing up. Together, there's a moment in every journey when you're faced with a choice. Not a loud, dramatic one, but a quiet one, the kind that whispers instead of shouts. It's the moment you decide whether to stay where you are or step into the unknown. Not because you have everything figured out, but because deep down, you know staying the same is no longer an option. You feel it, that tug, that restlessness, that flicker of something more. That's the invitation, not to chase perfection, but to pursue something far more powerful, commitment. Commitment to yourself, to your growth, to your future. And not just in theory, but in action, in the way you show up each day when no one's watching, in the way you choose what matters, even when it's uncomfortable, in the way you begin to trust that small, steady steps are more than enough. Give yourself 90 days, not to impress the world, not to prove a point, but to come home to the version of you that's been waiting underneath the noise, the distractions, the doubt. The one who remembers what it feels like to dream without shrinking, to try without fear of failure, to move without needing applause. It starts with small shifts. Waking up earlier, not to check another box, but to create space for clarity, for intention, for yourself. Saying no to the things that drain your energy, even if they once felt like obligations. Saying yes to the hard things, the right things, the things that stretch you in all the best ways. The truth is, most people never change because they wait for permission. But the permission you're waiting for isn't coming from outside. It's already within you. You just have to decide that you're worth the effort. There will be days you want to quit, days where the results don't match the work, days where it would be easier to numb out, shut down, or pretend it doesn't matter. And those days, those are the ones that shape you. Those are the moments that matter most. Because growth doesn't come from doing what's easy. It comes from choosing what's right again and again, even when it's hard. And here's the thing, the 90 days will pass either way. Time moves forward whether we show up for it or not. The only question is what kind of story you'll be able to tell when those days are done. Will you look back with regret for what you didn't start, for the chances you didn't take, the boundaries you didn't set, the dreams you left on pause? Or will you wake up with gratitude for the commitment you made, for the strength you didn't know you had, for the momentum that started with just one decision to begin? This is your life, not a dress rehearsal, not a warm-up round, not a someday fantasy waiting for better timing. It's now. And you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to begin. Take the challenge, not for perfection, but for presence, not just to change, but to become, to remember the parts of yourself you've buried under years of doubt, delay, and distraction. Because the real transformation, it's not in what you do over the next 90 days. It's in who you become because you chose to do it. Every step, every stumble, every small win, it's all shaping something new in you, something strong, something true. something deeply, undeniably you.